Okay. So, so they got captured after temporarily becoming a pantheon of gods really quick. At first, I described it as everyone just had gold armor and was ultimate, but that is to say they were just all powerful. But that's actually not what it was like. Only one person had the golden armor and the flying magic flying carpet with the floating instruments around them and the flying swords that responded to his violin or fiddle, and that was the satyr. Not to be confused with a faun. A satyr is a more beast-like goat folk, sort of. I mean, a goat folk is actually very specifically. I mean, I guess a satyr, it doesn't have more of a ram's head than a goat. I mean, when you see a goat folk, a faun, and a satyr all at the same time, you can tell the satyr is the freakiest looking one. I mean, a goat folk, that looks like something you could pet. But satyr, they've got damage reduction, 5, and a couple of starting racial hit dice. So the satyr in the group, when we first started, when everyone was like, they bought horses, and then they were all running on feet because the satyr had faster base movement speed, but not as much as the centaur. So there was a centaur and like 3 horses, and then 2 monks and a satyr, which is a bard goat person, and they were all just running with horses because none of them knew how to ride horses, and they got horses for no reason because monks don't ride animals. So that was the first time we ran into trouble. But more about when everyone temporarily became god. So there was only one person in golden armor, and he was mostly just doing sonic attacks. He could shout, and it would send waves that did damage. And he didn't really have, like every choice you make in Dungeons and Dragons creates a new function. And basically, I just get to a state where they were automatically level up their functions really quick. And just to see that if they actually did play the character out that they created to its maximum, that what could that possibly look like by everything they've built so far in the group imagination, the group meditation circle. And the Minotaur turned into a black dragon Minotaur known as a Dragatar, and he just breathed fire basically, or his breath was all the elements: acid, fire, lightning, all the elements. And and then so one of the monks turned into a demon, and the other one started wielding icebergs or something. And I don't really remember too much about the god monk being some sort of martial arts Buddhist. I don't know, anything out Buddhist sci-fi or whatever. And who else became god for a little bit? Was that oh, there was the guy with the metal arm, and he was a tiefling and had like one horn and a metal arm, probably on the same side, and the middle arm had runes on it. And if he had a magic sword, like a sword that was always on fire, a fire sword, with his magic arm, he could shoot rays out of his fire sword of fire, turning his fire sword into a range weapon. And also had a fire sword that shot out of his gauntlet. That was a short sword of fire, which had a 1d6 fire enchantment on it. And if I had already written on the enchantment on his arm for special magic artifacts, he was able to shoot a fire blast out of his. It was an arm he got from killing inevitables in another dimension that he traveled to with a magic plane shifting boat. And so that happened a while ago. And his ancestors were actually horn devils, and he had a black pigmentation to his skin. And he basically his devil infernal ancestral lineage activated, and he went full horn devil with him an arm still. And then he was dual wielding his cloud sword and the Sephiroth sword, Guilt and Naga, which I probably shouldn't have brought that up. But and then he had a Naga ghost that he killed flying around him. That even though him and the Naga tried to kill each other, and he killed the Naga, the Naga stayed with him because they were both very like-minded and they actually fused together. A Naga is just a head, and then the rest of the body is a snake. They can fly and use magic. And he fought that thing on top of the lake. And he was water walking at the time of fighting the Naga. The Naga was in the lake, and he was walking on top of the lake, but actually took a boat out there, and he was attaching in burial a mystic Theurge, Azamar, which is kind of weird to see Azamar and Tiefling journeying together, but somehow it was happening, and he was awful good, and that was kind of weird. And they actually traveled to the Serpent Realms together, which I already mentioned, I think. But yeah, so last time, they all became god and fought elementals and went through a massive trap complex where the traps were just like the most marvelous, overcomplicated defenses for a temple or a shrine. Oh no, it was actually a vault housing the heart of a dead Titan god, which could turn lesser creatures into more powerful beings, which are basically just an orb of light inside some sort of three-dimensional shape. And that when the shape broke open and the orb of light was released, everything changed. And then they walked out of the magic cave, and what you can imagine is if you took a keyboard, and a computer keyboard, and filled the entire pages with the letter I, capitalized or lowercase, and then turned them all into stick figures, and held it up, the amount of stick figures on the page that was letters would have been the amount of level 1 to 3 or 4, level 4 wizards that have like 10 HP, and only can use a wand of magic missile, and that many attack the group. And there was just no chance of failure because they didn't have the spell Shield already activated, which is the only counter for Magic Missile, because Shield makes you immune to automatically hitting Magic Missiles. But it's too stupid to know that and have that in your mind when anything can just teleport and fall around you, or you can just be teleported to move, or things like that. Well, we're out of time again because we just hit 10 minutes of me rambling about Dungeons and Dragons, and actually I kind of just repeated last episode. I was trying to get to the